والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحابته أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. وقل رب زدني علما. قال الإمام النووي رحمه الله تبارك وتعالى ونفعنا بعلومه في الدارين. قال عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لم يتكلم في المهد إلا ثلاثة: عيسى بن مريم وصاحب جريج، وكان جريج رجلا عابدا فاتخذ صومعة فكان فيها، فأتته أمه وهو يصلي فقالت: يا جريج، فقال: يا ربي أمي وصلاتي، فأقبل على صلاته فانصرفت. فلما كان من الغد أتته وهو يصلي فقالت: يا جريج، فقال: أي ربي أمي وصلاتي، فأقبل على صلاتي. فلما كان من الغد أتته وهو يصلي فقالت: يا جريج، فقال: أي ربي أمي وصلاتي، فأقبل على صلاته. فقال: اللهم لا تمته حتى ينظر إلى وجوه المومسات. فتذاكر بنو إسرائيل جريجا وعبادته، وكانت امرأة بغي تمثل بحسنها، فقالت: إن شئتم لأفتننه. فتعرضت له فلم يلتفت إليها، فأتت راعيا وكان يأوي إلى سمعته، فأمكنته من نفسها فوقع عليها فحملت. فلما ولدت قالت: هو من جريج. فأتاه فاستنزلوه وهدموا سمعته وجعلوا يضربونه. فقال: ما شأنكم؟ قال: زنيت بهذه البغي فولدت منك. قال: أين السبي؟ فجاء به فقال: دعوني حتى أصلي. فصلى، فلما انصرف أتى السبي فطعن في بطنه وقال: يا غلام، من أبوك؟ قال: فلان الراعي. فأقبلوا على جريج يقبلونه ويمسحونه وقالوا: نبني لك سمعتك من ذهب. قال: لا، أعيدوها من طين كما كانت. ففعل. So it's a bit long hadith, but it's a very interesting hadith, so we're going to read it for you, inshallah. So this is, again, talking about the chapter of the poor and the destitute and the unlettered and the unrecognized Muslims and their virtue. So from Abi Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu is this narration that Rasulullah mentioned that only 3 infants spoke from the cradle. One is Isa alayhi salam, and we've been talking about that in Fajr, in the tafsir. And also Sahib al-Jurayj, and that story is coming. وَكَانَ جُرَيْج رَجُلًا عَابِدًا. So Jurayj, he was a very pious and muttaqi, a sort of a monk type, you would say. And he had a monastery, kind of a place where he used to worship. And so his mother came one day and he was praying. She said, Ya Jurayj, and she called to him. So he said to himself, Oh Allah, my mother's calling me, this is my salat, so what do? Do I answer my mother or do I keep praying my salat? So he decided to continue his salat and didn't answer his mother. So the next day the same thing happened. He was praying, his mother came and said, Oh Jurayj. He said, Ya Allah, salat or my mother, what do? So he continued with the salat, and then the third day, he ultimately, did the same thing, and then his mother, now you have to be careful, don't make your mother angry, because if you do, they might make, a very, terrible dua, which happened here. So his mother actually got angry and kind of lost her cool, as it were, and she said, to Allah, don't let this fellow die until he sees the faces of the prostitutes. Which is quite an amazing dua to make against your son, right? So anyway, so now what happened was that because he was such, a pious person and muttaqi, and so it became known, and so actually Bani Israel, they used to mention about this fellow, what a pious man and what amazing ibadat he used to perform. And, that kind of talk and that kind of mention brings about jealousy, brings about animosity, envy. So one of the prostitutes, actually, from Bani Israel, who was known for her beauty and her temptuousness, and so she said, if you like, I'll take care of this fellow. I'll, put him into fitna. So she went and she tried to actually seduce Jurayj, and he paid no attention. So what she did, she found a shepherd who was there at his monastery, and attracted this shepherd and seduced him, and ultimately she became pregnant from that shepherd. And so the whole plan was, to put this on Jurayj. So now the people saw, they heard about this prostitute had the child from Jurayj, so they came and they smashed his monastery and tore it down. They said, hey, what's the deal? They said, you committed adultery with this prostitute, and so just hang on, relax. Let me offer 2 rakat salat, let me pray. So he offered, a prayer, he prayed, and he made dua. Then he said, bring that child. So then he hit that child in the stomach and said, oh child, who is your father? And it's an infant. And that infant spoke that my father is the so-and-so, the shepherd. Oh, now the people realized what a blunder they made. They said, okay, now we're going to make your monastery out of gold. He said, no, I don't want a monastery of gold. Just make it back the way it was, right? So that's the second child who spoke in the cradle, and the third one we'll hear about tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Subhanakallah bihamdika. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم